into the room, but we're going to kick this off. This is the Build Your Craft and Career Virtual Summit 2022, and this is all about letting women, young women, seasoned women know about all the amazing careers and trades inside of the trades and the construction industry. So we've got a huge panel here of ladies that can answer any questions. I've got a huge list of questions that have been submitted to the show. And I just wanted you guys to be able to meet each other and maybe collaborate, right? Like these are the things that we can do privately that we don't maybe think about, right? We don't have to wait for trade shows. We don't have to wait for larger government stuff. We can be hiring each other, right? Using each other, working with each other, creating your own shows, and just sort of seeing what's possible. So we're going to just do a tiny little icebreaker, which is mostly for me as an introvert, because it makes me settle down. So I want everybody to go around the room and just tell me your favorite animal, and then tell me, are you pro Brussels sprouts or not? Mine is favorite cat. Mine is cat. Love Brussels sprouts. So I'm just point you out. I'm going to start with Coralie because she's the first in line for me. Hey, Ebony.
So my favorite animals probably are my kids. I used to be a dog person, and then I decided I'm not really a dog person anymore. So yeah, my kids. And I'm definitely pro Brussels sprouts when you like char them with bacon and pine nuts.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
We have that every week, actually. So yeah, big fan.
Okay. Love it. Okay, Dawn, you're next in line on my
yes to the Brussels sprouts, absolutely. Crispy, charred, love it. Not too much balsamic though. And I like my grand dog, Lulu. She's a black doodle.
A black doodle. Okay, cute.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, super cool.
I love it. Monique?
So yes, on the Brussels sprouts, love them. Roasted, a little crispy on the outside, almost those little potato chip edges, just love that. And, I love elephants. I just think they're like,
my mom does too. My mom's crazy for elephants.
Like
yes.
I got to ride on one at a little thing once that was sort of cool. Yeah. But I don't think I can own one. So I love Rottweilers. I've had 2 Rottweilers. I'm sort of due for a new dog. So
yeah, love that. We love Rotties. Okay, Susan, down to you.
I'm going to jump on the Brussels sprout train, definitely with bacon, always with bacon. So I'm going to.
Okay.
It's not good with bacon.
Everything with bacon.
Everything.
Okay. And favorite animal?
And then favorite animal, I would say a cat. We always had cats growing up. So I'm going to go for cat.
I was going to say, you can't choose kids again. She has 4. You never know she has 4 children. But that's already been picked.
And one of 6.
Oh, good. Ellen Consuelo just got in. Yay, Consuelo. Thank you. I'm sorry I couldn't figure out the Zoom link. She's from Latinas Weld, so that's great. Okay, Jenna, how about you?
Sorry, I'd muted myself. Favorite animal is birds.
Oh,
I'm just fascinated with birds.
Okay.
And definitely yes on the Brussels sprouts. I like mine a little crunchy. I don't like it when they're soggy.
Yeah.
But definitely.
Well, it sounds like you guys are all going to get a gift of the show of Brussels sprouts.
Crispy.
I was like, no. I have a feeling Pam might be no on Brussels sprouts. Okay, Pam, what about you?
So actually, I do like Brussels sprouts, but we haven't quite gotten the perfect every time way to make them. So when they're good, and when they're not good,
that's true.
They are not good. Favorite animal is actually a lion. I have been fascinated with big cats my whole life. So
wow,
lion for sure.
Love it. All right, Allison over there.
Me? Allie. Only when I'm in trouble, I call you Allison.
Yeah. Your formal name is Allison. So.
That's right. That's right. So pro Brussels sprouts for sure. Haven't quite figured out how to make them yet. So somebody tell me how to make them crispy because they're always soggy and that's gross.
Yeah.
I would say boxers. I've had boxers for many years. I just love them. The little pouty mouths,
Yeah, exactly. I love it. All right, Katie Bell down there.
Hey there. So first I want to apologize that I'm in a Starbucks. I got stuck on the road on a lumber run. So
she's doing a lumber run right now.
I love that. I apologize.
I'm a reporter in the field.
A 91 Ford Econoline van with no air conditioning, and it's very hot here. So I had to improvise.
Reality check.
Well, yes, with bacon and blue cheese.
Ooh.
Unless somebody else is cooking them, then if you're not eating them, the smell of them kind of.
Yeah, the smell is,
opposite.
yeah, not great.
My old roommate would make them every day, and sometimes that would be too much. But and dogs,
Dogs.
obsessed with
Okay.
dogs.
Great.
Australian
Awesome.
cattle dogs specifically. I'm thinking about getting a second one. I've kind of got puppy fever right now, so.
Love it. Awesome. Well, thank you for getting off the road just to be here for us. We will try to get you your questions kind of up front as well. And so apologize, it's so hot there. So, all right, Veronica, coming over to you, my dear.
So first of all, we need a party and everybody needs to bring their version of Brussels sprouts.
Absolutely.
I want to taste
Yeah.
like this bacon and blue cheese. So yes to Brussels sprouts. And I would say fish. I love koi fish.
Okay, beautiful. I love it. All right, Ebony, how you doing, hon? We can't quite hear you.
I hear you.
I know it says you're not. No, I know. And you got the setup too. Okay, we'll come back to you. We'll come back. All right, Ashley, do you want to speak up? You're not on camera, but do you want to say something? Jump
Sure.
in? Yeah.
Sure. I work with Allie in the same office here in Denver.
Nice.
So yes, pro Brussels sprouts, for sure. My husband and I like to coat them in butter and garlic and Parmesan cheese and breadcrumbs, and then put them in the oven so they get crispy.
Yeah.
And
Love
then
it.
favorite animal is dogs. I have a 90-pound Malamute that looks like a wolf,
That's my favorite dog.
and
It's
I'm obsessed with
yeah.
him.
I love it. I love it. All right. And Amanda, I know you're here. Do you want to jump in or are you taking notes?
Hi everyone, how's it going? Really excited to be here. I am 100% a Brussels sprout girl. In any way, shape, or form, I will take them. And then my favorite animal is definitely a dog as well. No specific breed. I love them all. I was puppy sitting a little dachshund, and I absolutely fell in love with her and her personality.
Oh,
So
I love it. That's fabulous.
any shape or size, I love them all.
That's great. All right, Consuelo, I'm so glad you made it. Can you unmute yourself? Can you hear us?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, what were the questions? Do we like Brussels sprouts, and what animals do we like?
Yeah, favorite animal and Brussels sprouts, hate them or love them.
My favorite animal. I mean, I like all animals, but I think specifically my little American ring-tailed cat, Chucho.
Yeah.
And I do like Brussels sprouts, and I like them in any way, as long as there's not a ton of bacon. I know that some people do too much with bacon and Brussels
This would be a
sprouts.
tough crowd if you did not like Brussels sprouts. Like,
Yeah.
I would just lie at this point.
We should have like a whole BS support group on this one.
Yeah. I actually thought it would be 50-50. I had no idea there'd be this many people that love it. Okay. Back to you, Ebony. Can you pop in?
I don't know what happened to my little microphone. Okay. Yeah. I've never really tried. I think I've only tried Brussels sprouts one time, so I can't really say it's my favorite.
Okay, that's all right. So
I like broccoli, but I am going to try it based on you guys' suggestions.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I like broccoli a lot. We eat that a lot.
I like broccoli too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And your favorite animal?
A dog, and well, I would say my dog. He died though, but he was a lab and chow mix. But he was the cutest. Yeah. So my favorite animals would be a dog, like in that breed, because they're just so lovable and lovely.
Yeah. Fabulous. Okay, and then Zaudutu. I'm probably mispronouncing that. Do you want to jump on?
That's okay. That's okay for the mispronunciation. It's actually Zauditu. Thank you.
Zauditu. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yes.
Zauditu. I love that. Okay.
Thank
yeah,
you.
jump in.
Thank you. I love Brussels sprouts now as an adult. I hated them as a child. It's amazing how your taste buds change, but I really like them now. And right now I'm really into birds. I don't think I have a favorite animal, but birds right now are especially fascinating.
That's fabulous. Okay. All right. Well, hopefully that helps settle everybody's nerves, right? A little bit. Okay. So we're going to dive in. Does anybody that's new to the group have a question for any of the panelists just before I start? And it's possible that somebody might be texting me just so before I start on the questions. Nobody? Does anybody have a question for one of the panelists that is a panelist? I just don't want to override if anybody has something for somebody else. No? We're good? Okay. All right. So they're in no particular order. I tried to, but we have such a range of skill set here that they're a little bit all over the place, but I'm going to try to do my best with some of the simpler ones, maybe to answer up front. And then as some of you want to stand longer, maybe we can get into some larger discussions about the industry and that type of stuff. Okay, so I'm going to start with this one. This is specifically for Coralie. I want to start my own business and everyone says I should get an LLC. What are the risks of not doing that? In a short, succinct answer. Because you have a training on financials and stuff inside the summit.
Yes. So as far as however you want to structure your business, I always, tell people to talk to your accountant and your lawyer to see what the best setup is for you. Originally, we were just a sole proprietor when we started our business, which was at the time plumbing and hydronic heating. And I recommend against it because it's too easy. One thing to get your life. This is one of the things I talk about in the financials workshop is that, or the webinar, is that it's too easy to mix up your personal and your professionally. That needs to be very, very separated. And when you're with an LLC, that definitely makes you do that because by law, at least here in Canada, and I'm assuming it's out in the States, it's the same, where you're required to have an accountant, you're required to file your annual reports, you're required to do certain things to keep them separated.
Right.
So notwithstanding, I don't know what the business is or what the services that she provides. I would say for protection, for separating your liability, for, just basically keeping your personal stuff, your personal life, your personal assets and everything else separate, it is best to have the LLC designation would be my recommendation. Not like I said, with the clause. She didn't actually say what she does, but okay, so this is another question that came in. This was for, I'm going to say this is for Jenna, but other people may be able to speak to this. Everyone around me, everyone always says to find a mentor, but there's no one around me on my job site how can I do this online, and does it really help your career? Which is kind of speaking to finding your own tribe, right? Finding people to make you feel good about yourself. And since Jenna is kind of our resident imposter syndrome expert, we did fabulous training inside of the summit, which will be available once this is done. What would you say to that about one, finding a mentor? And I know a lot of you are mentors, but I kind of wanted to get Jenna's, she's not specifically in the trades industry. She might have a little bit more objective answer to this. What would you say to that?
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that I'm not in the trades, but that said, I've done, as I mentioned in my workshop, a lot of new stuff constantly. Yeah. That's why we're feeling this imposter syndrome. But, I'm launching something I would like all you women to know about, which is called powerfulwomen.com. That's FULL. And inside of this women's only network, it's going to be women helping women thrive. There will definitely be a mentorship component because I feel like this is so important. It's really difficult as women to find mentors, especially when you're one of the only female in the room, or one of only a few. And so especially finding someone higher up, it's very difficult. I'm fortunate I got the ability to mentor someone recently, and she found me on LinkedIn. We just connected. She said, "Hey, are you taking on any mentors or mentees?" And I said, "Well, actually, sure. Why not?" So I say just look for somebody that you you look up to and ask. It can't hurt to ask. There's no harm in asking. But ultimately, Powerful Women will also have a mentorship component, and we'll have mentors listed and those who are seeking mentorships listed as well. So I want to make that easy for women.
Nice. Anybody else? I know Pam, Coralie, you guys all, Dawn, you guys have all been mentors. You're sort of business coaches now, mentor coaches. I know Veronica's helped a lot of young ladies enter the interior design trades. Like, what do you guys suggest for that? I had male mentors. There was no such thing as female mentors when I was doing it. So, Pam, you want to start?
Yeah, I would definitely say put yourself out there. So the only way that you grow in your own business is by being visible, right? So either networking online or networking in person. So I would say once you start looking for those things, you're actually putting that in the forefront of your mind. Opportunities will start to present themselves. and you will start to find people that you think can maybe help you in small ways and in larger ways. So definitely put yourself out there. And I like, I believe what Jenna said is just go ahead and ask. A lot of times, we're not going out and looking to mentor people, but if someone came to us, we would feel compelled to help. So I think the asking component is actually really powerful.
Yeah.
And I
think
have a comment on that.
confidence, right? The
Yeah.
confidence to just ask for help, which is something we all still struggle with, right? It still happens. What were you going to say, Dawn?
I have a comment on that. I'm a very informal mentor. Looking back over time, men and women have asked me things that male general contractors would never even answer or give them information. And I have to say, I really believe that if somebody wants to be mentored, it's excellent, but it's very difficult in the construction industry to find somebody. And so what you need to do if you want to mentor is to actually contact that person, ask, perfect comment you made, and then follow through with what can I do for you as a mentor? Like, for instance, I'm not good on social media. I would love to mentor somebody if they could give me 2 hours of social media posting, editing, and stuff like that for my Instagram. And so there's got to be a trade. You just don't go up to somebody and say, hey, will you be my mentor? They're busy people. We're all busy contractors or whatever piece of the construction industry you're in. And so that's really what because we're humans, we might have had great success, but we all still need something. And that person who wants to be mentored, maybe an intern, can help. And I think that makes you look like you really have some skin in the game as a mentee.
Yeah, good. Anybody else?
No, I'll jump in on that. I'm Allie, everybody. Hi, guys. Before I dive in, Camille, thank you for pulling us all together. This is such a rad group to be a part of. I'm honored to be on this panel with these lady bosses. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Part of her question was interesting. She said, I don't know, I can't find anybody outside of my job site, right? So this is the person
that she likes, that she connects with.
She's on site, right? Which is awesome. And that's a whole different ballgame. But what I would say is encourage your company to introduce you to other people within the company off your job site. Go in and talk to salespeople, go in and talk to administration, accounting, finance, go to the executives, right? They built a big company that she works for. So I encourage just to go beyond your job site and learn who the people are within your company and what it, motivates you.
Yeah, that's good advice. For me, I always just it was simple. I looked for the best person on the job, like who was the most skilled, the guy that knew the most. And that was the person I asked for help.
Yep.
That's how I did it basically.
Okay. I have just a quick suggestion on that as well. Here in Canada, we have the KWIC, which is similar to NAWIC, which is we have Canadian Association for Women in Construction. They have a mentor program, so that you can reach out to different associations that may be able to, because I think part of her question was also, is online mentoring effective? And I think that when you can connect with somebody in the industry, especially because it is construction, it certainly can make things a lot more manageable. So I would suggest to reach out to different associations and to connect with their mentoring program in order to find somebody who's in the industry and a female, which would be
and I'm going to have obviously everybody that's a panelist here that's been in the show, the summit. I'll have links because I know a lot of you do mentoring and have coaching programs. So there's lots and lots of women here they can use. Monique, you had your hand raised, and then Susan.
I just put it in the link just as a woman in the landscape industry. The National Association of Landscape Professionals has finally started a Women in Landscape network, and there's just a lot of potential. And they do a lot of classes and things like this where women can really talk about being in the trades. And I actually attended one probably a year ago now. And it really was about having children, about deciding you wanted to have children and not wanting to get off ramped. And it was really, really interesting. So I think sometimes just being in a group where we'll have women only conversations about being in that trade is really helpful. So I just threw the link in the chat.
That's great. I love it. Thank you. And Susan?
Just real quick, it was,
Yeah.
probably pretty similar, but our builders association locally has a women's council and they have separate, separate events for women in the trades. We're actually
Nice.
having one this week.
Yeah.
So, a lot of the associations do have, women's groups within the association.
And I think it's a matter of just taking that extra effort to find someone, which it's so easy just to stay in our own little lane and keep our head down. And then years go by and you're like, oh my God, nobody's helping me. Right. Like I had years like that. Nobody's helping me. Nobody's, I need help. Well, I have to take that step to reach out and try to go to a group, go to a council meeting, make that phone call. And I know like Veronica is an excellent networker and her business thrives because she is constantly out there asking for this, for that connection, right? So, and that's things I didn't do when I was younger. So, okay, here's one for, let's see, let me do one for, let's see who we got. Who else was leaving earlier? Who else was leaving, needed to leave? Allie. Okay, Allie, this is a perfect one for you. How do I transition from the job site to a management role?
Ooh.
And feel free to introduce yourself. I was going to have everybody introduce themselves, but you'll get an email. You can see it in this. There'll be links to everybody, right? I didn't want to waste a ton of time on that. Allie, but you might want to actually introduce yourself because you specifically can speak to this answer.
Sure. Allie, again, hi. I work for, I'm the chief sales officer for a general contractor by the name of Reconstruction Experts. We're in 4 different states, Florida, Texas, California, and Colorado. And we specialize, as our name says, in occupied space reconstruction. So we don't do any new construction, just all occupied space, typically pretty large and complex projects. So that's who I am. And the question is great, right? Because I feel like we all on this panel have done this transition, right? You are working on site, you're working, and then you either begin your own company, start your own company, or you rise up into an executive management or management role. And I think the shift, the mental shift needs to go to, you are not delivering the task any longer, but you are coaching the people who are the most important part of the business, which is the people who do the work. And it is your responsibility to know that person, what makes them tick, what's their stress triggers, what motivates them, get to know them, spend time with them. And then it is your responsibility as a manager to lay out a very clear path of success. So that person can go home every day, and we all know this feeling, you go home and you feel like you crushed it, right? You are rocked it, you're awesome. And as a manager, it's a really hard shift to do from doing the work to motivating people to do what they do and do best and be successful. So it's a fun transition. Good luck.
So how would she transition from the job site if she wanted to leave working on the job site and maybe move into management? What would you suggest she do? Like,
sure. So I
position herself kind of.
Yeah. So again, back to my other response, right? A construction company or an engineering company, anything in the trades, there are multiple divisions within a company. There's sales, which is where I come from. There's the trades, there's management, there's finance. So I think first of all, ask yourself, what do you like about your job? Do you like crunching numbers? Do you like interacting with subcontractors, right? Do you like procuring the materials? Do you like interacting with the client?
Right.
And the answer to that will then allow you to understand what makes you tick. So if you love interacting with clients, reach out to your HR team and say, hey, is there anything I can do to move into an account management role? Or find, if you like crunching numbers, same thing. Ask the CFO, hey, is there something I can do to learn more about it? And then really just, encourage that and eventually, if you like what you're doing, you're gonna move up in the company.
Okay, that's good. That's good. You're right, because we always forget that these companies are huge, right? And they're not just one entity. They have all these different kinds of general part pieces to it.
Yep.
So yeah, if you like being more forward facing and working with customers, maybe design and creation, you might be more on the front end versus like one of our ladies, Stacy Dillon, she loved mathematics and she felt really uncomfortable as an architect because she was not like Pam and Ronica. She did not like the designing part. She felt really uncomfortable with that, but she loved the back end numbers, crunching, estimating, purchasing, right? So that's a good distinction, I think. Okay, Katie's got her hand up. Oh, I love that I can actually see it on, that's new.
So I just wanted to share a little bit of my experience, which I admit is very unique. But what I did, I worked in a wood shop for about 5 years and basically went from just being a worker bee to drawing, designing, client correspondence, project managing, even doing project reports like after the fact and checking on budgets, ordering material, basically everything. And this is a unique experience, so I don't know that it's going to be that helpful to recreate. But what I did is I went to my boss and I asked him, where can I grow, or how can I learn every aspect of this? Because if I wanted to run my own business one day, I was going to need to see it. And luckily, I had a boss that reduced me and let me. And so I wasn't just running the table saw, I was also drawing the pieces, and then it all kind of developed from there. But I actively sought out where I could grow, and sort of ask for more responsibility, and then it just kind of blossomed from there. So
Nice. Yeah, so basically it's back to asking, right? It's when we don't ask for what we want. These women all do, but there's a lot of women that it's just that simple of having the confidence to ask. Coralie, what about you?
I was just going to suggest more. I'm very much a step-by-step kind of person. And so, when she does figure out what it is that she wants to do as far as, where in the company she wants to go, what I would suggest is the first thing she does is express the interest to the people who can influence her movement, and then do research on the company. What is it? What gap are you going to fill? How do they need you, and how can you help them? And I think if you can express your interest and show them that they need you and that you will be making their life easier by doing these things, then it'll give you a better chance to make that movement. When you can give as much information based on knowing your company, what they're looking for, what they're trying to achieve, and then give them the information and why you're going to fill that and how you're going to do it, then you're making their life easy. They're going to be given the information to make the decision, as opposed to trying to figure it out all on their own. And is this going to work, or is this not going to work? So I think that those steps, once you decide where it is that you want to go, are good steps to take, just to give yourself a good chance of getting there.
Yeah. Initiative, confidence, belief in yourself. Even you don't quite feel it in the moment, right? That's what's worked for all of us here, is we all had initiative, right? We took those little steps to move forward. Okay, let's see who this was specific to. She's not here yet. Okay, that's too big. We're not going to get to that. Yes. Okay, this is for Pam. I've tried to market myself with social media, but nothing really brings me good customers.
Okay.
And for everybody here, Pamela has I want to say the F word, but I'm not gonna, because we're live streaming. A fantastic.
What F word are we looking for?
I know.
Fabulous. What?
Right, a fabulous workshop that is literally at the top, that every single person here, including panelists, should watch, on attracting your dream customers. It's fantastic. Really knocked it out of the park. So yes. What would you, so she says specifically, I've tried to market myself with social media all the time, but nothing really brings me good customers.
Okay, so what I'm going to say is one of the biggest mistakes that I see across the board with social media is that we're being very reactive, meaning we're just putting something out there and expecting people to come to us in return. And one of the biggest things that we can do is be more proactive. So one of the things that we first need to figure out is what type of project and what type of client are we trying to attract to us? And then we need to put that information into our bio, and we need to be talking specifically to, think about talking specifically to that client avatar. So you're creating this one person that you're talking to. The other thing is that what you can really do is also curate your audience. So instead of just not allowing, but just having followers, whoever they may be, start going out and following people that can either refer that type of business that you're looking for to you, or are your, end user client avatar, and start following them, start engaging with them, because now you're proactively working towards people that you want to be working with. And also the algorithm's going to start to recognize that these are the type of people you want to be, your content should be shown to. So I think you have to be a lot more proactive. The other thing is that maybe you're just not being specific enough. That's the other item that I do see a lot of people. It's very broad conversation and where it could apply to anyone. And so I think that getting a little more specific as to what you're providing and what kind of transformation are you giving your clients? What kind of pain points are you helping with them with? When you finish a project, what do your clients say to you that they were so thankful that you were there to help them with? So start talking and telling those type of stories and those types of interactions in your social media, and you're going to start connecting to more of those perfect clients.
Okay, awesome. And she goes even more depth in the training. So I'm really there'll be an email that goes out to link to all of your guys's webinars or, trainings, whatever we're calling them. So you'll be able to watch each other's stuff as well. Let's see here. This one is kind of general, but how do I transition from being in the union to starting my own business? So someone that's in the union right now working and starting their own business. And I mean, I can speak to that, but there might be somebody else here that wants to jump in.
I've never worked in a union.
Yep.
But, with any business, right? Have a very concrete plan. Starting with, I'm a bit heavy towards the sales side.
Yeah. No.
But who is your audience? Who are you selling to? To Pam's point, right? Find them, encourage them. So I think with anybody starting a business, union or not, and obviously I don't have any experience, so Camille, jump in there on the union thing, but have a good plan, find your audience and figure out that plan to connect with them on a daily basis so you're top of mind, always.
Yeah. Mine was started a side hustle, which you're not supposed to do in the union, but I did. So I had tons of side jobs before. And then, and then I just left. So I already had clients, same thing. I already had sales, I had customers. I had enough to pay. I think I had, I waited till I had $5,000 a month, I think, guaranteed, roughly guaranteed, right? And then I left and started my own business. So that's what I did. But not all unions can you do that. Sometimes just the schedule is so much, it's very hard to have side work, right? So it's not like that works for everybody. But I would never start a business without customers. That's just me personally. But sometimes you just have to, like Katie started and she just did. She's like, I'm done with this. I'm starting my own business, right? So sometimes you also just have to do that. You have to just rip that Band-Aid off and just jump for it. So let's see.
I can contribute there too. What we did, although again, it's not union, it was just private sector. But what we did was we started our own business, but we contracted the labor to, friendly competitors, as we call them. So we worked our labor with them, and they knew right from the beginning that we were, starting our own business. So we weren't, just for them. We have like, say, 3 or 4 different ones that we'd be working with, and all of them knew that we were going to be stepping out and doing our own thing. But in the meantime, while we're working we didn't take their clients. Don't do that. That's not cool. But, as you're building up your own thing, so you kind of have a bit of both. You have, so it's sort of like a side hustle, but you're doing it on your own. And so you're stepped out of the union and you don't have that conflict.
Yeah, that's smart. I love that. Okay, this one is kind of interesting. I was in the military, but I need a new career and I'm not sure how to apply my skills and move over to the construction trades. Anybody? I have some experience only because of my husband. Anybody know anything about that or were previous military at all? No? Okay. Okay. So I will post links to this, but just in general for anybody watching later, SkillBridge is a service within the military that lets you basically get out 3 months early, and they pay you for the last 3 months of your service as you transition to another field. So Allie, this might be helpful for you, looking for women in the trade, in the military, because there's tons of them, right? Getting out, and people don't stay like 25 years like my husband did anymore, right? Like in mass amounts. So it's called SkillBridge. And so basically they get paid to work with you, and then they have a new job. It's like a paid internship kind of. And then Helmets to Hard Hats is also this. There's a program that specifically helps people do. And unfortunately, most people are only targeting men in those instances. They're not thinking half the military is female. There's a ton of women in the military. Okay. So that question's good.
I have one thing to add to that, Camille, too, is I think that's a great part of if you're going to start your own business and you have that background, what an excellent marketing pillar to talk about, because it talks to your discipline. And don't we all know how hard it is for people to show up and to be on time and to be conscientious, and what a great thing to bring that skill set to the forefront of your marketing message as well.
Right, exactly. That's a good idea. Yeah. Okay, this one for Jenna, because I know Jenna's probably got to go, but for anybody that needs help with imposter syndrome or just feeling good about yourself, feeling good about, tearing yourself down so that you kind of build yourself back up. That's what Jenna's thing is all about. Her book is fantastic. I've already gotten it. Actually, I've already given it to two of my friends. This one, I find myself, this is a very common thing in the industry. I find myself always kicking myself at the end of the day over small mistakes. How do I know if I should continue at this job? Basically,
yeah.
Am I just not good at this job, or am I just being super hard on myself? Right? Like, it's kind of a little bit, I just wrote it. This is exactly how she said it. I find myself always kicking myself at the end of the day over small mistakes. How do I know if I should continue at this job?
That's a really good question. I found myself doing that a lot. That's because I'm kind of a high achiever. So think about this, if you consider yourself a bit of a perfectionist or an ambitious woman or a high achiever, maybe that's the problem. I'll give you a little quick tip, and that is I learned a valuable lesson that 80% is really good enough. And it was a game changer for me. It really is good enough. And if you can let go and accept that, you won't be kicking yourself at the end of the day. It's that trying to get the A plus. I
think everybody in this room can say that we've all done that. Yeah. I loved your workshop specifically because you called out the fact that if you are a super ambitious woman, an A achiever, that type of thing, you're much more prone to imposter syndrome. It's like the opposite. The women that aren't worried about it, that haven't really done that much, they're not worried about it. Right? It's those women that have done a lot that still think they haven't done anything. Right? So I thought that was kind of interesting in your training. Anybody else? I could obviously speak to this, but anybody else want to jump in about, go ahead.
I would love to. Yeah. The two things that come to mind is I heard someone say once that women operate on proof and men operate on promise. And so if we can't prove it to ourselves, we won't even try. Where men will just sort of make a promise, even if they've never done anything. And so it's finding that bridge between those two and understanding that you don't actually always have to have the proof. And you need to step into taking imperfect action. And I do a lot of work in team building in the landscape industry in my coaching business. And one of the things that I see women struggling with so much is I can't do it until I got it right. I can't launch my social media. I can't get the website up. I can't launch the class. I can't send the design out. Like, it has to be perfect. It's like, I love that idea of 80% is enough. And the beautiful thing about what we do, because many of us are working as creatives as well. And so it's being able to look at that 80% and saying that's enough to get the job, that's enough to get going. And then I'm going to constantly iterate because I'm not leaving it.
Yeah, exactly. I love all of this. The 80%'s enough. Women operate on proof, and men just are like, I barely know it. I'm diving in. Okay. Okay, Katie. Katie and I have had many conversations about this.
Yeah, and everything that's already been said, I 100% agree. The only thing I was going to add is it is very important to remember that mistakes are part of it. You have to make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. I work with some of the best woodworkers in the state, maybe in the whole nation, and they make mistakes. And mistakes are part of the process, and they're also part of learning. So if you're beating yourself up at the end of the day with mistakes, you at least are evaluating what you could have done differently, and you're carrying that on to the next step. And it's everybody makes mistakes. So to just kind of embrace them and know that they're part of the process, and you're exactly where you're supposed to be if you're making mistakes.
Yeah, good. All right, Ebony?
Yeah, oh goodness, you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I was thinking, I like the 80% rule. And I think having that community, the mentors to kind of, to be there for you helps you with that. right? And so you realize like, I don't have to be perfect. Now, if I wanted to go deep, you start to realize as you get older, why you have that perfectionism. Maybe it was because how you was raised or something like that, which actually makes you a good worker, because that means you're going to try to get things done, but at the same time is a double-edged sword. So once you kind of realize that, you can give yourself some grace, but then you have your community to say, it's okay, girl, it's all right. You know, whether that's at home with your husband, your, you know, or your friends or your community saying, hey, it's okay. We're not perfect, but you know, the 80% is done, and having I like to have checklists. I feel accomplished when I'm like, I did my 3 things. I'm done. Good. I'm done, and I reward myself for it. So, you know, and some of that comes with maturity. So
maybe
you
it's
know,
a make an 80% checklist. Like you make a checklist that's perfection.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Off the bottom, and that's it. That's what you get. And then you move forward.
Yeah.
All right.
Because I think we all kind of, you know, sometimes compare ourselves to others who also have the perfectionism. So if you're comparing your 80 to her 80, then you're going to feel less. So that's where your community come in and say, listen, chill, just like chill a little bit.
For me, it was specific to everything I did was visible. And I had to get, I mean, everybody that knows, like Ronica does kitchens, Pam does kitchens, you know, I mean, for me, it truly had to look perfect to get paid. Right. So that's a big part of it. But I also had to learn personally that that's like the job. That's not me personally. I had to learn how to separate that perfectionism, because anybody that's doing something where it's a very visible product you're making, it's super easy to get caught up in that. Right. Because it is sort of part of it. Like Allie's building huge $100 million $1 million projects. Like there is a level of perfectionism that has to be there. Right. But it's like for women, we take that on personally too, I think. So there's sort of I don't know. Let's see, who else? Monica, jump on in.
Yeah, I was going to add to that, because that can be twofold, and I don't know what the person who asked the question is really thinking, but I know I have the conversation a lot in the state of social media. You know, a lot of people are in everybody else's lane. And a lot of time when I work with designers and ask them their why, and to talk about their plan, they seem to want to navigate to what such and such is doing and what they've seen on social media. And a lot of that you have to separate. You have to ask yourself, what is it that you want? Why are you doing this? Because then it will allow you to put on those blinders, because that feeling of not being perfect or doing things correct could be something innate, or it could be you being in somebody else's lane, feeling like you're not keeping up to what they're doing. You know, I did this project and I think it's my best first project, but then I look at the post from someone 2 minutes later and I feel like, you know, SHIT, and, you know, like I'm all of a sudden not good enough as a designer. Right. And I always say to them, you always have to go back to your why. What is your why? Because your why will allow you to do what you need to do to problem solve why this didn't go right. You know, maybe you need more research. Maybe you need to take some CEU courses. Maybe you need to hire that mentor to get you where you're supposed to be. So if you connect with your why, a lot of those times you can answer those questions on your own and not kind of, you know, sometimes people get stuck and they don't do anything. And so the business fizzles or the great idea fizzles or never matriculates. So just, you know, staying true to yourself and understanding why you're even doing this specified skill or starting this business.
Yeah, well, and she says specifically, I'm not sure if how do I know, what does it say again? I'm not sure how do I know if I should continue at this job? And so for me, it'd be like, well, one, do you even like what you're doing? Depends on what it is. Do you like the day-to-day? If you cannot stand the day-to-day, that does not mean throw the baby out with the bathwater. You need to slide sideways. Maybe you need to go work for Allie's company. You need to find a mentor. Like, don't just say, I hate the trades or this isn't working. Like, do you even like what you're doing every day? You know, that's one thing. And then 2, are you good at it is like a separate thing. You might be actually really good at it as long as it's 80%. That's what we call good enough in this room. Coralie, you wanted to jump in?
I was just going to say that with that 80%, I think what's needed to be said is that you actually need to evaluate that 80% and pay attention to that 80% that you're doing well. So at the end of the day, when you're beating yourself up, maybe, you know, take the time to also say, what did I do well today? And itemize that as much as you're itemizing all the things you did badly, because then you kind of get a better, because she's thinking, am I even good? Like, can I even do this? Exactly. You know, you need to give yourself the chance to look at both sides. Don't do a one-sided decision because you're just not serving yourself. So that's what I wanted to add there.
Nice. Okay, Dawn.
Yeah, my business is a little different. I've been isolated for probably 30, 35 years. I've been a general contractor in large custom estate homes. And so for me, I didn't have that corporate experience. I've never had a job. So it's completely, I mean, a corporate job or someone else writing the W-2, right? So for me, it was an isolation issue. And that's where my own thoughts start doubting, you know. And so what really helped me with some of those thoughts, whether I'm good enough, is to have champions in my corner. So I could go to an inspector at the city and say, hey, you know what? I don't know. I don't feel like I know what I'm doing. And you know, and really have an honest conversation with somebody that's influential, that you trust, They dig you, they like what you're doing, they think what you're doing is amazing. And you'd be shocked, men or women, that will come to you and say, hey, you know what? You're a effing, you know, rock star for a contractor. I don't know why you're doubting yourself. Look what I see. Look what I see. And sometimes we need that external feedback. A lot of times I find that as I grow older, that I need to go inward and say, I'm good enough. I've done enough. I have enough. I'm rich enough. I'm everything that I've set out to be for many, many years. Now, this is just a feeling and emotion you're having too. So you really need to keep that in check and really start focusing when you have those kind of thoughts on mindset rather than just tactics. Because I think tactics can really screw you up, and you can do more and more tactics and you'll never feel good enough. And so I think going back to that mindset, doing a little bit of meditation, breathing, whatever you do, pray, whatever floats your boat, and really start affirming what it is that you've done and focus, like everyone said, on that 80%.
Yeah, I love that. And I had the similar experience because we both were self-employed for 30 years. So I had the same level of isolation myself. I never would have thought to go to my inspector, my building inspector.
You'd be shocked. You'd be shocked.
That is the difference between an introvert and an extrovert. Yeah, I'm sure they thought it was great, but I would have been too, I would have never asked that. But I love that. That's something new I learned. Yeah. Susan, I want to bring you in for a minute. I know you're being super quiet over there. She's incredible, you guys. She has a new show that, like, basically her and her husband created their own show called Renovation Rekindle. It's adorable. It's hilarious. I love it. And you've been a builder for a long time. You're a realtor for a long time. So, I mean, you have a ton of experience and you've got 4 young children. It's unbelievable. So can you speak to this a little bit about, like, you know, I'm sure you had many days where you thought, there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to do this, pull this off. Like, what do you do?
Yeah. So like hearing Dawn, like, you know, where, you know, we do kitchen renovations, bathroom renovations, we do custom home building, we do, you know, home building where we're purchasing a piece of property and reselling it. And, you know, I mean, even now today, there are still times because because we put all of our work out on social media, we have a lot of clients who will say, I'll try to, figure out what direction they want to go with the design. And they'll say, you know what to do. You take care of it. So then I feel, a lot of pressure and I'm like, oh my God, like, what if they don't like it? And, I always have my husband, he's always like, remember what they had before. You're crazy if you think they're not going to like it. But yeah, it's, it's really just, putting one foot in front of the other. I mean, we had our business through the housing recession and, there was, a point through that where I was like, oh, should we keep doing this? And then I thought of the alternatives of, I've always worked for myself. I was like, I'll get fired in about 3 seconds. I won't last.
Me too.
Except for maybe Allie's company. I feel like I could actually be successful at Allie's company.
I would walk in and I'd be like, why are you doing things that way? We should change everything. And they'd be like, you need to leave. So it's, I mean, it's, I think one thing is asking yourself, do you even enjoy doing what you're doing? Are you in the right day to day? Because I think when we talked about how I knew pretty young that I was not someone who could sit in an office all day. I need to move around. I need to be out in the field. I can't be in one spot. I need to move around all the time. So, I think it's really knowing yourself, knowing your goals and where you want to go and, and having those people around you who are, kind of in your corner. And yeah, no, totally. The building inspectors, I had a young young girl who came in as a mentee, and she was in her 20s. She wanted to get into the trades. And, it's funny because those people, they do want to help, when she goes out and meets an inspector and, they find out that she's licensed and she's learning, they give her lessons on, on everything. So it's funny. The more you put yourself out there, I think the more people want to help and will help you.
Especially now, things have changed a lot. Don knows, like 30 years ago, no one was trying to help you. But people are very, very helpful now. So just take that little, extra effort to, don't do what I did. Don't be scared and just reach out and ask for help. Jenna, you want to jump in real quick?
Just wanted to leave on this note about perfectionism, that it is a fear-based belief. It's like an insecurity, right?
Yeah.
And then also, you all might be familiar with the famous stat about, I think it was Sheryl Sandberg who put this out in her Lean In book, but that men will apply for a position if they only meet 50 to 60% of the criteria. They're like, oh yeah, check on 50%. I can do it. I'm applying. Right. Women, on the other hand, will historically not apply unless they meet 100%. This is in our DNA or something where we think we have to be perfect. And if we're not, we won't apply.
Right.
So we'll hold ourselves back. And if that's the case, and we know that about ourselves, then it makes sense that we're probably also expecting this perfectionism out of our work. Right. And that's just not fair to ourselves. So it really is about reprogramming our brain as to what's acceptable. That's why I love that 80% is good enough so much. Yeah.
That's great. That kind of goes right along with the women need proof and men just need like an open door.
Yeah.
Whether they're prepared or not. Okay, Jenna, I know you need to take off. If anybody needs to take off, feel free, and feel free if you want to just tell us something about yourselves before you leave, what you've got going. But all of you will be linked together, so you don't have to worry about like not being able to find each other later. But feel free.
Camille, thank you so much for doing this and putting this together, and really nice to meet all you wonderful ladies. I hope we get to stay connected. And if anyone wants to touch base with me, my website's jenna-banks.com, and I'm on all the social media channels, and you can easily connect with me there. So really nice meeting all of you.
And she has a lovely book called I Love Me More. It's great. So about self-care. It's a really unique, interesting take on it. So yeah.
Thank you, Camille. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jenna.
Anybody else? Allie,
Camille, I have to bounce as well.
A meeting coming up. So go ahead and sort of do a little roundup of what you're looking for, maybe who you're looking to hire, the types of women you're looking to hire, and a little bit, I know, I'm hoping Reconstruction comes to California, right? Supposedly you're hopefully coming to San Francisco.
Yes.
I have tons of women to send your way. But tell us a tiny bit about who you're looking for to work in your company. What makes it really unique?
So thank you, Camille, for giving me the platform to find great people. And really, I think all of us know that the reason a company is great is its people. And that's really what reconstruction experts look for is a personality who is driven, who is excited, who is passionate. The interesting thing is you don't need a ton of construction experience. We'll teach you that. We've got tons and tons of experts. We just need a person who is excited to be a part of a really growing and successful company. Like you said, Camille, we're coming to San Francisco. We're going to be in every major city here relatively soon. And honestly, don't think construction is a man's world, because we're changing it. Everyone on this phone today, on this call today, is changing it. And I think we found pretty great success in the field. So just raise your hand, encourage, reach out to RE Reconstruction Experts. We're on all the social platforms, and we've got a great website, a careers page. So I really appreciate you just letting me do my 2-second bit to encourage people to apply with RE.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much, Allie, for being here. We appreciate it.
Awesome. Have fun, guys.
Natalie and Tammy York as well. They're in the summit interview. So thanks, Allie. I appreciate you being here.
Go women. Woo.
Go women.
Hi, guys.
All right. Anybody else? Just I still have more questions, so I'm going to just keep going, but I just want to be respectful of everybody's time. Anybody? Everybody's still good? Okay. Let's see. This is an interesting one. My dad is a plumber, but he wants me to be part of the business. How can I be involved but not do the plumbing part? So kind of like maybe running the business, the back end of the business, maybe the marketing.
That's how I started.
Who's that? Who said that? Corley?
No, that was
that was Susan. Okay, yeah.
Because my dad was a builder, my grandfather was a builder. So I think I might have been, I don't know, 12, writing estimates and taking measurements and writing, doing plans for permits and doing paperwork and things like that. So
thanks, Consuelo. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. We'll have a link to your organization in the summit. Okay, Hen. Okay,
sounds
Susan.
good.
Okay, thanks,
Bye.
Susan. Sorry, Susan. Consuelo was leaving, so
sorry.
So what would you say to her that, like, how could she maybe speak to her dad and say that she says, how can I be involved but not do the plumbing part? So it sounds like she wants to work with her dad. She wants to be part of the family business, but what would you suggest? And it kind of sounds like maybe boundaries are part of this, right? I also worked with my dad, so a lot of us have worked with our dad. So how could she make it so she gets to kind of do what she actually really feels passionate about?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like taking a look at the business and seeing what did she like. Does she like talking to the customers? Does she like doing the back end? Does she like doing the paperwork? Does she like sourcing products, helping with organization, helping with systems, dealing with employees and subcontractors? There's so many aspects of the business, and maybe see what parts maybe her dad likes the least. Maybe there's a good match of parts that she likes the most versus what he likes the least. That's always ideal, where it's he's doing this part, he's doing that part, and it's a good match.
That's smart. I like that. Well, it sounds like the theme is basically, don't just look at it as the business. Look at all the different types of things that go on in a business, right? Especially when you're a young person, you think just it's a business, right? You don't really think about all the different things that can be done. So I really like that is a thing that everybody keeps saying, is like, figure out what you really like doing, or maybe something he doesn't like doing that you do want to do, and then work towards that. Let's see, Dawn will get you next. Let me do Coralie. She was up first. Or next.
I was just gonna, I think Susan covered a lot of the things that I think are necessary as to find what it is. It doesn't say what her age is or what her experience is, or if she has any, education beyond post-sec or beyond high school. So those are kind of all things that she, if she's just coming out of high school and wants to be part of it, maybe she does take a business admin, or, if she wants to get into the business part of it. But, an easy way to get into the business and kind of feel your way around, depending on the size of the business, is to answer phones. Or do something that is administrative and doesn't require a lot of skill or knowledge, but it's a good starting point to bring somebody in, because I know that when we
learn a lot
first,
of the details. Yeah,
just by the nature of being in it.
Like sales, like going out doing estimates, you get really like what, I mean, for God's sake, Susan was 12. So the 12, I'm pretty sure she's older than 12. So, you get to know like the types of customers, where they live, what the business does, how much money is involved, how long do the projects take, like what you get to know the scope of the business, I think. So I think those are all really good suggestions. Dawn, what about you, hon?
Yeah, I was gonna say, the two last gals, is it Susan and Coralie? Phenomenal advice, awesome. What I've seen in my industry is some of the younger generation, they come behind their parents, like, okay, I'm a parent, I have grandchildren, the whole 9 yards. The older generation doesn't realize they're not charging enough. And so this younger generation comes up and they are, well, first of all, they have a chip on their shoulder and they think everybody should pay them a lot of money. But you have to reframe that with this child. If you're hiring one of your children or whatever, as show me where my business sales could be better. Show me where I'm not charging enough. Now, my kids, that's what they're doing, man. They're showing me, look, you could have charged more here and here and here. And I'm like, holy cow, I must be in a rut. So just in the sales, pricing is very effective, especially with millennials, because that's kind of what's going on.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Okay, Monique.
I had so I grew up in a family business, refrigeration and commercial kitchens, commercial ethnic markets, doing all of the refrigeration. And it was definitely difficult to try to edge my way in that business. I also had my father's from the Middle East, so just culturally everything was very different. And now I have both my daughters, well, the one who's going to SpaceX won't be working for me anymore, but my daughter's in my company. And it was just very, very interesting with my eldest, who's actually a stepdaughter, to try to navigate how to make a position for her. And so basically what we did was we crafted internships. We decided, because we also didn't want anyone in the company to feel like there was nepotism. We wanted to be really, really clear about building a business structure where she would be respected and not, oh, you just have the job because you're the daughter. So we crafted internships, and she did a couple of internships working her way into the financials, which was what she was doing in college. And then after her second internship, I told her to go get a job. Like, you have to leave. That it was really important for her to be in the world, and the information and the experience that she got in the world. And it wasn't like forever. It was just a short blip of time that we just wanted to make sure that she could make a real decision and not feel that kind of bonded, obligatory
only thing
guilt.
You can do.
Yeah. And she has become a phenomenal part of our organization, and entirely separate, sort of from the family aspect. I could leave and sell the business, and she would be an integral part of the business. So I think there is something about finding your way, learning different pieces through internship, where there's a start and a stop. And then kids need to be out in the world. They need to see the world a little bit, I think.
Yeah. Okay, good. I love that. Yeah, Pam.
So just the other aspect, which I think Monique touched upon, my husband was in a family business when he was younger. And even though I got to observe a lot of that interaction. And I would just say to be aware of boundaries, and so that you kind of treat it as professionally as you can, but as you would if you were working for someone else. So I think the family dynamic, I think you just need to be aware of that family dynamic and try to be respectful that, work is one thing and family is another, because at the end of the day, you want to still remain family. So I just think being aware of those boundaries and how some of that can slide when you're in a family business, to just be super aware of that. And as that relationship, as they start to figure out what those roles and that relationship is going to be in that business, to just be mindful of creating the boundaries that are going to make that successful at work and then at home too.
Yeah, good. Ebony?
Yeah, I was thinking I had several clients, and most of them are family-owned businesses. And one of the things that I noticed, which it helped me to learn a lot about the dynamics with working with family, is that, like Pam said, the boundaries. So in one business, the client I had, the mother was the boss and the kids did the work, but she was the boss and she handled everything in the office. And so with her, I was like, man, you really need some help. But the kids did the implementation, but she did all the meetings with to get the contracts and everything. So I thought that was interesting. So having that, there's so many different things to do within the business besides actually doing the implementation. And so that's one thing that I learned. So, what I think, if I understood the question, the young person could ask her dad, well, what other help do you need? Where are you feeling the most stressed? And treating it like a professional and saying that of what she could do. The other aspect of it, which I think Dawn mentioned about her kids helping her see where she could make more money or stuff like that. Whereas I had a client where the daughter is younger, the mother's in charge, which, by the way, I was like, wow, these mothers are running things, right? Which is amazing. But the daughter said, Mom, we really need to get more exposure and get more interviews. And the mother's like, oh, okay, I never thought about that. Like, I built this $1 million business without interviews, but the younger people are saying, no, we need to be visible to create a legacy. So it's interesting of how the young people can come in and say, hey, they could see something that maybe
something that's missing.
Yeah.
And so Ebony is a website designer just for construction companies. So she specializes in legacy firms, like family construction businesses, and how to tell that story through a website, which is kind of an interesting job. And so she has a lot of women contractors that have been contractors for 3 decades and like how to tell that in a website, right? So it's kind of
Wow,
interesting.
cool, very cool.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else? Feel free. I'm not watching. I'm sort of watching the chat, but not really. So just if you need to leave, let me know. Let's see. Let's see. I'm looking for something that we haven't covered already. Let's see. Let me do one for Pam. What did I have, Pam? I had one specifically. Let's see. Where was it? Where did I do this? Well, this one I can answer later. I did an interview with the Carpenters Union, but I was really put off by the interviewer. He didn't make me feel welcome at all. I think this might go back to the imposter syndrome answer. Like, who gives a F, right?
Exactly.
Just move forward. Just move forward. Find another person. Find another Carpenters Hall. Like, don't let that one person. I think we would all agree, right? Don't let that one person be the person that's going to stop you from this career.
I think as a woman in the business, you encounter that probably more than most, and you just gotta move on from it.
It's like a non-issue. Just keep moving forward. Yeah.
There's lots of assholes out there, so just move on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think you can see that like none of these women let that stop them.
Yeah.
Okay. This is for specifically Pam and Ronica. I think those are the only interior designers here, but I believe so. Do I have to go to school to become a designer?
No.
Oh.
Did
So
they-
I'm
did they
sorry.
both say no?
No,
Okay.
I was saying, oh, this is something that I love to talk about.
Okay.
So I am pro school. I'm pro education. I've heard almost every argument, both sides of it. I think this goes back to what I start my mentees with is what is your why? So that's hard to me, I think that's a generalized question because everyone doesn't learn the same. Everyone is at different places when they come into their career. Sometimes people are coming straight out of design school. They're young, straight out of high school, and they're, looking to go to college. And some people this is their third career. They're starting over. And they may feel like they don't want the investment or they don't, have the time for it because they have families. So I really feel like that is a part of your why. Sit down and take an introspective look to say, is this something for me? Research the schools. When I transitioned, design is my third career. So when I moved into from administrative work in retail, and I was getting into this, I had to do a ton of research to even know if this was something that I was built for. And then when I went to design school, after studying healthcare for years, I was like, what the hell? Nobody told me that this would be the hardest thing that I would ever do. So there are some people who aren't ready for that commitment or ready for that weight of school. So you just have to ask yourself, you have to learn in some way, right? So you have to ask yourself, what are you going to do in the interim? If you're not going to go to design school or to school, how are you going to get that education to get those clients that you want? Nobody wants to be subpar. Nobody wants to start a business and say, oh, I'll be fine with, not getting any work or not doing anything. So you then have to say, what do you want from this career? And if some of those things are hyped, like being on TV or having, clients with large budgets, then how do you get there? And sometimes it does take that extra level of education. So I always tell my mentees to talk to yourself. I don't care where you do it, how you do it, if people call you crazy, but have that conversation with yourself to figure it out, to figure out what your independent why is, and not try to kind of reach in the air and find out, what should I do?
Yeah. Okay. Pam?
I mean, I think like anything else, there's a balance between education and experience, and they both have their place. There's things that you learn in school or even through a course or other formalized learning that you're not going to learn. That's a great, foundation. But then, as we all know, we've gone, if we've gone to college for something and you get out in the real world, I mean, you've got some of the information, but you don't have other parts of the information. So I think experience also is such an important and valuable part of the learning process. So it, kind of to what Ronica touched on is, you have to move forward with what's right for you at whatever age and stage you are in your life. But if you can't get formalized education, then how are you going to do some of those things? Are you going to get on the job experience? Are you also going to take some master classes or classes at night from various places, which is awesome way to do it now because we have that ability, which we didn't have maybe back in the old ages when I went to school.
Both of you went to, I think Pam, you went to an actual interior design school specifically for that, right?
So I went to a school where I did receive a degree in interior design, yes.
Okay. And then Veronica, so both are 4 years educations though, right? Veronica, yours was?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot of skill sets in 4 years. So I feel like that's actually more than my business degree for marketing. You guys probably learned more specific stuff than I actually did, would be my guess. Specifically.
Yeah, but when you run a design business, I mean, to your point, sales and marketing is also something you can have a business and have all the technical skills, but never really hit that level of success without the sales and the marketing skills, which no one teaches us. So, you know, there's never one size fits all in terms of the measure of success for when you have even a design business.
Right. Okay, Monique.
Can I piggyback on that really quick? I'm sorry, Don and Monique. I know you have your hands up. But to Pam's point, you know, I really pulled from different areas of my life. Like I said, this is a third career for me. I spent 20 plus years in retail. So I came from the sales and service side, you know, that I was able to utilize. I mean, my first job was McDonald's. So I even went all the way to when, you know, I worked in McDonald's and in the drive-through line, you know, fast forward to when I got out of design school and nobody would hire me. And I thought I was going to work for this, you know, big swing. I ended up working in a tile showroom that taught me so much that was invaluable in my business when I started my business. So another part of that is, you know, however you're going to get it, be flexible, allow yourself to be flexible, and then utilize those other areas of, you know, what you've learned within your life to strengthen, you know, that education, however that education comes about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to that point, my first job out of school, I could not get work in interior design as well. My first job out of school was working for AT&T as a secretary.
Oh, wow.
And what in the media relations department, and what that taught me, which was a skill that actually helped me, was I was to your point, Camille, I'm super introverted. I was extremely shy when I came out of college. And so I had to talk on the phone with the New York Times reporters. I mean, I wasn't giving interviews, but I still was having a lot of interactions where I had to talk to people. And that skill helped me be a better presenter, be a better designer, which we need that skill as we move in our careers. So all these experiences, even if you aren't getting it in that specific area, you're gaining skills that you can use later on.
Nice.
And if I could, I think that I love this conversation because I think that it's one of those conversations that can very easily get polarized depending on what camp people tend to be in, whether they're, you know, pro education or pro like experience. And I love what Pam said about the weaving the two together, and what Ronika said as well about kind of looking at the long span of our careers. And I think that is actually hard at different stages of your life. Like it's hard, especially at the younger stages,
to get caught in the weeds for sure.
That it could be long. But one of the really interesting things, having two kids go, you know, that we're sort of moving through choosing college, was kind of bringing up this idea that there was the opportunity to what's been called hack school. And that like in the landscape industry, it's really interesting because it's like you're going to school for landscape architecture or landscape design, but so many of the design schools have closed. So I was lucky enough to be able to go to design school through Radcliffe, which is a part of the Harvard program, but all these schools are closing. So interestingly now, the associations and all the different industries have all of these different ways to teach. So I'm on the faculty of the Massachusetts Master Gardeners Association. And so, you know, I think that probably also in building that there's lots of really great avenues to get small snippets of education, certifications, and then apply those certifications, learn something. And the beautiful thing about it is so many of the people that work here, we actually fund their education. So we send them to UMass Green School. We send them to the Northeast Organic Farming Association for organic land care. So I think the other really awesome thing as business owners is we can look at how do we help create that ladder of education for people who want to break into it, but just don't have the wherewithal, the money, the time to do like a full-on 4-year degree.
Yeah, I love that. Dawn, real quick, Katie's got to go. She's got to get that lumber delivered.
Yeah, I gotta go to the front yard. So
No worries.
yeah,
but yeah, so you're in Charleston?
yes, Charleston,
Yeah.
South Carolina.
She's in Charleston, you ladies, and she builds gorgeous doors. So if you ever, those of you that are interior designers, that need to specify really beautifully handmade doors, arches, I mean, incredible stuff she can do from scratch. She's the person who can specify.
We do what? We're doing a lot of stairs now. Sorry, can you hear me?
Curving staircases, true casement windows from scratch, huge front entry doors.
The one thing I wish builders knew right now was like to plan for that budget, because nobody seems to budget for it, and they call us the last minute and just there for their CO, and they have no idea what it costs. But we're finding the right clients.
Nice. Well, you guys, as long as you can ship, I mean, Pam's in Florida, Veronica's in Houston, in Texas. So yeah, but she's a great resource. I mean, they're truly gorgeous, one of a kind things. So thank you, Katie, for being here for a little bit.
I'm heading out too, ladies.
You
I
gotta go,
run.
Monique.
Yes. Thank you so
for-
much. This was
for being here.
beautiful.
I appreciate you being here for so long. I
Okay,
know
bye.
we're at an hour and a half, so I do have more questions, but I feel like everybody might be tired. I did want to ask one more question generally, just before we go. Let's see here. Where did I have it here? And Ebony, I have a couple questions for you, but I'll just send them to you and we can still answer them in the thing. I did want to ask though, privately, what do you ladies that are still here think we can do to change the narrative of basically this sort of marketing problem that I see that the construction trades have for women? Like, what privately do you guys think we could be doing? Like, if you had money to spend on this problem, what would you do that's not being done? I obviously have my own ideas, but I wanted to just throw that out because it's unusual to have this group of women together. So, you know, Pam, maybe I'll start with you because you've got a great marketing head. What do you see that we could be doing differently outside of trade shows, where mostly people that already know about trade shows go there? You know, community events where most of the women already know about that. I'm talking like outside of the industry. What do you suggest, or what ideas do you have?
I don't know. I see, you know, so it was mentioned earlier about STEM and things like that. I think the visibility of getting more visible and doing events like this, which is amazing, by the way. And it's so inspiring to see all these awesome, smart women in one room talk about all these things. And I think that more of that is to let's say normalize that idea that women can be in construction and that it's okay, and that we have, I think as women, we have a unique skill set. You know, we talk about the differences between men and women, and there are inherent ways that we approach problems and we think about problems. And I think as women, we can bring such a unique approach to this industry. And I think that if we can continue to amplify that and show visibility with events like this and to be talking about it is really amazing. It's fantastic.
Well, we'll keep doing some more. We have a couple of fun, interesting workshops that hopefully I can talk some of you into to cross-populate.
I believe, Camille, that all of us have an obligation, because we have been so successful, to spread the word. It is not scary, and we actually have the upper hand. Like Pam, like you were saying, if you take it as a compliment to yourself that you decided to jump into this man's world, because it's always been that way in construction. Now I'm from the ground up and remodels, and there are no women in the trades that I could hire. I wish there was in San Diego, the whole county, right? And so I think if you can support women, support each other, and find ways. I'm writing a book and getting that book out to people about my experience, and then sharing it and see how they can relate to that experience. Doing webcasts, doing podcasts, getting your name out there, and really helping other young ladies define what it is. Maybe it's just they start as a hobby. They can just start as a freaking hobby and say, hey, this really blows my skirt up and I really want to go for it. And then you can take the next step with them and say, okay, what's your vision? What do you envision? You know, I keep going back to young people and they're so amazing. They have ideas that blow my mind sometimes with all kinds of combinations of some of the trades along with other creative aspects. So I think that there's so much we can do. We need to speak on stage. We need to get ourselves out there. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have this perfect, humongous background. I over a very long period of time have done really well, but that doesn't mean you can't start right where you're at. Along with the other question, Camille, I don't think that, I think sometimes I love education. I have my master's, but I think sometimes education stops you from doing. And so I think that if you can just get out there and start doing to see what it is you love, you might after 4 or 5 years of school decide, oh, this is not for me. And so it's too bad you wasted that time. So some people get very nichey, like a color. All they do is colorist, or maybe they just do furniture in terms of design. I think that that's so good to know. Maybe work for a furniture company, So getting that experience first and then defining what it is you want to get an education in.
Okay, so I've got more roundtables like this, which I'm planning on doing, speaking on stages. Maybe start with a hobby, start trying it, start doing the thing to see if you like it.
Yeah.
What else?
I would say, Camille, we've talked about this because I look at it from two standpoints. I'm a woman and I'm a minority woman. So I speak to mentees from a standpoint of we need to normalize who we see in these industries. And so then that begs the question, where do you start? And for me, it's in early education. I've heard before, let's normalize the arts in education. Well, let's normalize who we see, who are the artists in, behind these skills and these crafts. And a lot of times, I remember the first time I heard a student say, I didn't know there were Black interior designers, and it crushed me. Yeah. And that made me really fight. As you know, we've had this conversation about why I did my symposium here. It's because I needed to normalize, and I love and respect anyone of any race, but I needed to normalize what you saw. When these emerging designers are looking and coming into this industry, they didn't have to feel like they were stopped at the front door because they didn't see anybody else that looked like them. So that meant that they couldn't, or they had this insecurity about moving forward. So I think if we had the conversations in the school systems, I used to say high school, but I don't know, let's go to middle school because, social media needs to have advanced these kids. They're very mature. So let's start in middle school, elementary school, and let's talk to them about, giving this as an option. We always get the doctor, we always get the lawyer and those things, but Pam, you can probably speak to this. Everybody loves design. Everybody in some aspect loves design and pretty shiny things. And so if we can finesse that in some kind of way in education earlier on, I think that would be the right step to kind of helping, so we don't have to do so much work.
Yeah, I agree to that. It's not always formal, but I agree definitely. And just putting these little young girls, especially underneath your wings and saying, you know what? You are so good with color. You are complimenting them and making them feel like $1 million because they are going to remember that comment by you.
Right. So maybe I can do more with parenting groups, because that's been some of the things I'm trying to figure out is to have on the show to really get in front of the curveball, not later. Right. So that's some of the things I've been trying to figure out is like how to start to insert ourselves in those conversations.
One other thing too, as a woman thinking about going into construction as an industry, is remembering that for many of these projects, the driver behind the project is a woman. And a lot of them are very relieved to have and very happy to have another woman, to talk to, because just contractors in general maybe don't have the best reputation. And people, it's like when you go to the car, to the mechanic, it's like, you don't really know what they're talking about. So, are they telling me, what are they telling me? So, so we do a lot of explaining, and we do a lot of, just making sure that our clients know what's happening and they're always informed. And, we do find that a lot of times women do drive a lot of these projects. So keeping, if you're, kind of feeling intimidated going into this business, always remember that. We had a conversation with a very large national siding company recently, and they said, we've done all this research, and lots and lots of research, and here's what we came down to our, here's the avatar of our client, and it's a late 30, early 40s female who's driving the projects. And I said, I could have told you that. I said,
Exactly.
we see that all the time.
Okay. Oh, that's good to remember as well.
I think also to your point, as I think that using the power of influencers, because there are some women influencers out there who are working with their hands. So there's definitely some way to pull in that level of celebrity, which with big reach. And then also sponsorship, meaning getting to some of these larger companies, I'm just going to throw out like a Kohler or whatever that, is benefiting from all these materials that all these women are specifying, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So you're kind of saying we're the buying power. Money talks really, right? So any way that we can figure out a way to help them with their bottom line, right?
Yeah, leverage it.
I was gonna say too, like you guys are talking about visibility, and I never thought about a construction career because I thought that was something men did, right? And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, right? You're only conditioned to what you know, right? And no one ever told me that a Black woman with natural hair could be a web designer. That's not what I saw growing up, but I like the colors and I like pretty things. So I was like, and I like techie stuff. So I was like, I think I kind of want to do that, like whatever that is called. And even though there's nobody that I trained under who looked like me, right? And so just by me showing up is saying that, you can do this, right? And working through that. So I think with the trades, it's just showing up yourself, being visible, you going on other people's podcasts, Camille, and going to schools. And so that's what I did, when I started my business. I would go to schools and I would speak. Sometimes it would be free. Most of the time it was for free because it was like local schools. But then people said, I didn't know I could do that. I thought I had to be a doctor or a lawyer, which I didn't want to do, which my parents are kind of mad about because they were like, you don't want to go to Harvard? And I was like, no, I want to be creative, which, 20 years ago, they were like, that's no money. So, but look at us now, right? So it's just, going to the younger generation and showing them the possibility because they need to see possibility too.
Yeah.
That
gives me an idea of, I could put together a group of say 40 women in construction or the trades. And then I could go on other podcasts and highlight all of your guys' stories.
Yeah. Right? You need to be booked and busy.
And show the huge range of what's possible, basically.
I think that's excellent, like a smorgasbord. Like, look at all of this. This leads me to my point. Construction touches every industry, whether it means the design piece, the architect piece, the engineer piece, the GC, finance, attorneys. We need women attorneys in construction. Yes. We really do.
We have one. She's fantastic. Tammy.
Oh, really?
Okay, great. Yeah, you'll have to watch her. She's adorable. She's one of the
it touches every single vertical.
I like this idea.
It's just amazing. We have to keep that in mind. And once you know the language of construction, once you know what the hell they're talking about, you can master it very fast.
Right. Yeah. I know. I'm kind of scared for when women actually take over the entire industry.
Well, they are. They're starting to.
What's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Coralie, I know you're patiently waiting for.
I was just gonna say.
You can just unmute yourself at this point.
I like to listen and take all the information. It's all good. There's a couple of programs, and I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with them. You probably are. It goes back to what I think it was Ronica saying about getting into the early education, because I agree at the high school level, opinions are formed and stereotypes are formed, and you're not going to break through to the people who don't already have the interest. So I think definitely as early as you can get in and show girls what they're capable of with tools in their hands and actually building things, I think is, you know, obviously it's the long investment, but you know, I've been in this for 30 years and nothing's changed. So I may as well start the next 30 years now kind of thing.
Yeah.
And not much has changed, shall I say. I'm not that pessimistic, but not enough has changed. So there's the Girls Who Build, I think it's called, in Oregon.
Yes. Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
And then there's also the Tools and Tiaras. Yeah. So I think, you know, having more of those type of opportunities where girls can actually come and try the stuff and feel like that space belongs to them, and see the women running the workshops and seeing the people actually doing it, you know, of all variety of, you know, representing everywhere. And one other thing I was going to say is that here in BC, we have a program that's called More Than a Bystander. And it's a program actually for men leaders, or men in general, in the construction industry. And it's where men come to, you know, to be our allies, to learn how it is for women, so that we can bring them in and have them sort of support us at the level, because obviously for us to really make a difference, we have to get rid of the whole group of men, not get rid of, but re-educate, get rid of the mindset that they currently have. I mean, a lot of them may be retiring out, but at the same time, we need to be able to educate men to see the value of what women bring, so that they can also spread the word. Because if we're relying on just ourselves as women to spread that word, it's like kind of just incremental. Whereas if you can have some men to also spread that word and show the support, I think that is really important as well.
Excellent point. Excellent point.
Yeah. And most of us here are fathers, right? I know Monica, her dad was instrumental. Like a lot of us, our daddies really helped break us into this, or at least be supportive, right? Or show that it was possible. So I think having more dads do that, right? More fathers do that, I think is really helpful. Okay, well, I think I definitely have more, but I'll just make like podcasts about these. I have probably 13 more questions, but I think everybody's probably tired, right? I really appreciate everybody's time. I'm just going to go around the room just to kind of do a last minute little shout out to each of you. So Coralie Beatty is in Canada, and she runs a business coaching program for women in the trades, right? And specifically really helps them with setting up their financials correctly so they can actually make profit. That's her thing. She's got a fantastic workshop inside of her thing. And she has, what's the name of your organization? Is called Thrive HQ, right? And you have a warrior, talk a little bit about the warrior woman thing that you're doing.
Yes, I do have a group that it's a pilot program that I am starting up. It's July 5th is our first meeting, and it's for women business owners and leaders in the construction industry, because I think we're missing that key. I mean, it's great to have women in construction groups, but I think as owners and leaders in the industry, that group is missing. So I'm doing a pilot project. It's going to run through the summer. Every 2 weeks, we're going to get together, and it's going to be a little bit of education, but it's also going to be support, collaboration, education. It's going to be a lot of different pieces, and I'll see what the need is for it, what people are looking for. And so if you're interested in joining, you can visit my website at thrivehq.ca.
And it'll be in her workshop, the link as well. So, and then what's your book called again?
It's called Hiring Secrets for Construction and Trades. I just released it the last couple of weeks. So it's about finding, hiring, and then retaining top talent in your industry.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Veronica Clifton, right? Veronica Clifton Designs out of Houston, Texas. And tell us, I just want to know, she was just in Architectural Digest. Tell us a tiny bit about that, because that's a huge win.
Yeah, so just the opportunity, AD 100 comes out every January, and recently the industry, again, coming from a minority woman, I don't see a lot of minorities in the industry, and so I've looked up to the few that they're there, and to see people like Tiffany Brooks and Corey Damon Jenkins in this in the AD 100, and to be able to be a part of that, I was just beyond myself. So RJ Clifton Designs was featured in the last AD 100, and it's just a blessing to be able to take my combined 16 years of decorating and design, and to be able to be amongst the likes of Nina Magoon and so many other designers that are featured in that publication. So that's just like exciting. Thank you.
Yeah. And so Veronica did something that I think is really interesting. She was this was 3 years ago now, maybe this was before COVID, right?
Yes.
She was tired of the lack of progress, movement, upward, I'm not even sure what to call it, recognition in her own, what's it called? The organization. Interior
Oh,
design.
ASID.
ASID, yes. And she put in the time. I mean, she had put in a lot of work in that organization for many, many years and was never recognized. And so she just said, screw that. And she created her own allied ASID Black interior designers. And she created her own symposium, her own conference, and brought her own speakers
Amazing.
and everything, and had people come. She's created her own freaking event herself.
Yeah.
Awesome. Way to go.
There's also
That's
possibilities of doing that, right? Just making your own damn thing.
Yeah,
So,
so
that's
we
what
had
that-
I started Creative Conversations just within design school, just meeting so many great women in design culturally. And what I found my niche is relating to African American designers. And so after meeting so many of them, and I was meeting them all over the country, but then I realized there were so many here in Houston that I hadn't even tapped into and created or gotten to know. And I'm a native Houstonian. So I was like, wait a minute, I'm going to Atlanta, I'm going to California, I'm going to all these places to connect with designers. And I have like this huge network of them here. So myself along with another designer, we created Creative Conversations. And it's just a organization for us to be able to empower, connect, promote Black interior designers and other people of color in the design industry so that we can support and connect and help one another. I just always felt like I wanted to spread the wealth. And then I wanted to also say, hey, we're here. There's not one face of design. So it was a blessing to be able to connect with people like Camille and so many other sponsors who allowed us to put on this 3-day symposium with Ferguson as our title sponsor. And we had a little storm that tried to knock us out. And then this little thing called COVID has been lasting for the last 2 years. But it really was a passion project that allowed us to connect with people. And I'm an advocate of speaking on topics that are not surfacey. I am not a by the books type of mentor. I like to dig in and dig deep and talk about those topics that are very, very relatable, like what your girlfriend or someone may say to you. Get off your butt and work and things like that. So we had fun just really, bringing in speakers who were going to cover things that, supported your business, supported where you were, how to stay in your lane, how to move within the industry, connection, networking, all of that is so important. So
yeah. Really, really beautiful, Renika. I really, really appreciate what you said. But what's more important is that picture behind you is gorgeous.
Right?
I love it. I love it.
Color. I actually wore color today for you, right?
I love color.
She loves color.
Yeah.
And so she loves color.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank
you. Thank you for having me for this.
We know you've had a lot going on, but we support you and just so glad you made it. So
thank you.
Okay, Dawn the Builder down in Los Angeles, San Diego, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got a huge, long career, right? Been a general forever. Her story is incredible. If you guys have not listened to her podcast episode of where she came from and what she made happen in her life, it's a tearjerker. I'm telling you, you need to listen to it. It's good. And now you're transitioning because you've had a very successful GC, career, and now you're getting into becoming basically a real estate developer. You're buying your own properties and remodeling them and doing all kinds of cool stuff. So like you're 60 what? And I know you talk about it all the time.
Oh my God, 64. Yeah.
You would never guess she's 64 years old and has, I can't remember how many grandchildren, three grandchildren, and she's still out there working and doing stuff and basically creating another career for yourself for fun. Like you're creating your own real estate development company. I think it's
Thank you, Camille, so much for having me. And I just want to say there's a point in your life when you realize there's no one's gonna cheer you on. No one's gonna be there for you. You have to create your own. I don't care who it is. You gotta be your own cheerleader. And I think I learned that after, 2011 and 12, when personally, it wasn't 2008, but it just took me out, took our personal fortune out. And you think, oh my God, I had all these expectations. I have to pivot. Pivoting is part of this career. It really is. And for the people listening, it doesn't go perfect. It's all up and down. It's all up and down. Your life is supposed to be up and down because it's teaching you things. And so after being burned out with custom, doing for other people, constantly listen to, I want open concept. And all that kind of stuff, right?
Susan's living it right now.
Shoot somebody who just started with that. Anyway, I'm overdoing
properties.
Yeah.
Nobody's allowed in. So,
Yeah,
Can I buy that before it's done? No, this is my
Perfect. Yeah, right. That's right. And so you just get tired of everybody else's wants. And I reflected back and I say, hey, I didn't take care of me. I did not take care of me. I took care of everybody else, put the kids through college, made lots of money, helped, different startups with my husband. And yet I never took care of me, my retirement income. I don't know how you guys are, but I had a come to Jesus meeting, I don't know, about 5 years ago. And I just started to do rental properties, development and stuff for myself. You have to think of you, because that partner, as much as you love them, may or may not be there or be able to do what you want them to do. And it's unfair to rely on them.
Yeah. Well, all women should have their own money, I personally think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and I'm really hoping you'll come and maybe teach some workshops on how to do that, how to transition. If you have some, if you've been in the business a bit and you have a bunch of skills, but how do you buy a property? How do you create rentals? Like, I think that's something that you could be teaching my whole audience. There's a lot of women in my group who are ready for that next stage, right?
Leveraging. You got to leverage what you know. And I would love to do that, Camille. I'm available.
Yep. All right. Susan Cadillac. So Susan, obviously everybody now kind of knows what she does. But can you talk a little bit about, I love this idea of your show, Renovation Rekindle, where you are using your own clients to build a TV show off of, which is something I highly think a lot of the women in this group could do. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think it's a fabulous concept.
Yeah, sure. So we finished season 1. We're filming season 2 right now. So season 1 had 10 episodes, and each episode is a full front to back project. And out of the 10 episodes, 8 were client projects, and then 2 were homes that we had purchased to redevelop. So it kind of shows the variety of everything from a small project of kind of a whole first floor renovation all the way up to a ground up new build.
That's cool.
So it kind of shows all the, all the different projects that we do. So, I mean, it was fun. It's an awesome experience because, with the clients, it was great with the show because at a certain point, once the walls went up, they were out, they were locked out. They couldn't see anything from that point on to the end. So, and really when they come in and see it done, it's like really just kind of a cool moment where they're like, okay, wow. So that's been lots of fun. And now it's, now that the show's out and we have the Renovation Rekindle app that you can download and see all 10 episodes. Now we have clients who are calling her like, can we be on the show? So it's a lot of fun.
So I'm going to try to strong arm / pressure Susan to maybe come back and maybe teach a little workshop on how did she do that? How did she get the film crew? How did she figure that out? Cause I think a lot of the women in this my audience are ready. They've already been producing content, right? And this is another way to market your business and another media company that you can own and make money on sponsors, all different ways, right? This is still in the construction industry, but it's like you really owning a true little universe. So I'm hoping she might do that for us.
Definitely. Yeah, I'd be happy to.
And so her links will be in her interview that I did with her. You'll be able to get her app, watch the show and all of that. So, all right, Pamela is up, Pam in Florida. So she does very interesting, very high-end interior design, which is what's your starting point? It has to be for 500,000. What's the ballpark of the type of client you will only take a job with?
Well, so I live in a market that's typically second, third, fourth, and fifth home market. And, most of the property values, regardless if they're high rise or single family home, I hate to say this, it sounds weird, but $1 million doesn't get you anything here anymore, which is pretty crazy. So, $2 million property value and up generally. Okay. So, I'm fortunate to be in, we have one of the wealthiest counties in the country, but we also have the highest concentration of interior designers One of the highest concentrated per square mile in the entire country. So, you know,
Wow.
we've got
Yeah.
it all going on there too. So
your marketing really has to set you apart. And I think Ronica, you could learn some stuff because
we
know,
have
you're very-
chatted. Veronica and I know each other already, so we have
you do?
already
Good.
chatted.
Okay,
Yes,
yeah, because I think there's some things you could apply with where you live, right? So to do those really high-end jobs, which I mean, I know you've done some of them, but the scale of some of the stuff that Pam has done, I was like, wow, that's a lot. So, and then what's your book? It's called Elevate, right?
So I have a book called Elevate. So I started coaching designers on how to run a better business. And the book is really, you know, a way for people to learn some of the things that I did in my own business and continue to do. Like everyone has said, the learning never ends. The process of success and failure never ends. You never really get somewhere and then just stay there, right? You're always pushing to try something new, and it might be successful or it might not be successful, but it's all learning. So I talk about the windy road of owning a business and how we're always constantly learning. And sometimes we have imposter syndrome, you know, 30 years in, there's, it never goes away. Like it's just a constant learning process. So I talk about some of the things that I think are really important. How to be a good marketer and how to be an entertainer in your business, how to know about sales and your clients. But then also I talk about the shiny objects that I have pursued in my lifetime and how that affected, you know, where I went and my trajectory. So we all do it.
Yeah.
I'm a victim too. So that's what the book talks about. And then, you know, now I've been doing some courses for designers, and we're also going to be doing to what a lot of the other women are talking about is an in-person mastermind event in Naples, because we want to bring in creatives and designers from all across the country and talk about business, to have a safe place to talk about business issues. And we ran an event as a pilot event a few months ago, and it was super successful. And so getting a small group of people in a room that can talk about business issues and do these hot seats, right? And there's some give too. So we can give something that's really affected us in our business to help those people. And then being in Naples, you know, we get to do the sunset cruise and look at the $40 million
nice
houses from the water.
Just
yeah.
For the interaction and the cocktails.
And inspirational, right?
Contractors to come or what?
Yes, we love contractors. And I think to your point, it would be an excellent, you know, Camille, I think this would be a great thing that you could put out is with this wealth of knowledge that these women have is how to get sponsorships and how to have our, you know, how to have vendors support us so that we can continue to do events like this so that more people can come and can participate. And so it's again, like lifting all the boats, right? And how we can help each other out. So I think that would be a really amazing piece of information to learn from all these other people who have done it successfully is incorporate help to continue to put these events on.
Yeah, awesome. All right, ladies. Well, that is a great roundtable. I think we've killed this. I think we did a great job. Ebony, did I do Ebony? No, sorry. You were off my pictures. Hold on. There we go. Okay, Ebony. So you want to tell us a little bit about what you've got going on?
Yeah.
And kind of your situation.
Message.
Well, I mean, I kind of already said what you do, which is fantastic, I think. But do you want to add on to that? We'd love to hear.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, thank you for having me. And I was texting Shayna, like, thank Shayna for reaching out to you to have me on your podcast and everything. But yeah, I just started working with women in construction. I because I've had clients in the industry, and I just like what you guys do. Everyone benefits from construction. And so I respect their business. And so I offer website and design services for them, and with a little bit of marketing. But although I'm trying to streamline, like Pam, trying to streamline and not get caught off with the shiny ball syndrome and all of that stuff with custom. So we're streamlining and trying to do one offer, one avatar, that type of thing. Because I've been doing this for 15 years and I kind of want to teach people how to not only build their own websites, but maintain it in-house, because there's just so many tools to do that. So that's pretty much what I do. And it's just been amazing just to listen to everybody here and advocate for this industry. So many
Yeah.
different things that you can do.
I love it. And you're in Atlanta, right?
I'm actually in Asheboro, North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
And Asheboro, North Carolina. And Shayna's in Georgia.
Maybe that's where I was getting it from. Okay.
Yeah, Shayna's in Georgia. Another female virtual assistant. But I was telling Katie, but she's gone, that she's in Charleston. I'm going to be in Charleston next week. So I don't know. I'll reach out to her later.
Okay, nice. Yeah, everybody will get everybody's contact information and all that. So I just thank everybody, unless you guys have another question. My Instagram's been blowing up, so I'm sure there's stuff I'm missing this whole entire time, but I really want to focus on each of you. So I just really appreciate the time. I know you all are incredibly busy, and just sharing your wealth of knowledge and being honest and authentic and really just sharing this with the next generation. I really appreciate it. And I hope all of you collaborate and, meet each other, and we'll continue maybe doing this every couple months and really just try to help each other, right? Do even more. So
thank you, Camille.
Thanks, Camille.
Thank you so much, Camille. This has been great.
Thank you so much.
And it's nice to meet everybody.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Since we're an hour late, it'll probably be about another hour and a half until this is up and all the other interviews are up. And so you guys will all get links to go and watch each other's web videos, right? This is
perfect.
Just step one. Okay.
Awesome.
Bye.
All righty. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.